I am recording very, very late. So I have just got back from a late night screening of Screamboat. This is the new SteamboatWillie horror film, and this is from the director of The Mean One. If you remember, I reviewed that at Christmas. This was also the Grinch horror film, and this is one that I've known about for a while. So obviously when the public domain for SteamboatWillie, which is the old Mickey Mouse character, went into public domain, the copyright did, a whole bunch of horror-based stuff started coming out to do with this character. And while we had the Mousetrap last year, which was just a guy in a mask slashing people, this is the one I was interested in the most. So this one follows a steamboat going around New York. The Staten Island ferry turns out to be the old steamboat that was owned and piloted by Willie, and turns out Willie is still on board and killing anyone who gets in his way. Yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. And just so you guys know, I'm just gonna spoil it. Full stop. I'm just gonna spoil things straight away. It's always interesting for me to review these type of films because it's very B-movie, cheesy horror films. You kind of know what to expect with stuff like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, The Mean One, like I mentioned, and even this one. You kind of know what you're going into. The acting is okay, actually, for what this is. The cinematography is actually pretty good for the most part. And I actually do like the concept and the premise of this one compared to The Mousetrap that came out last year, where I actually did think, okay, if you're going to do a horror film involving Steamboat Willie, actually have the character in it. Don't have it just be someone in a mask. And this one actually does do that. Not only that, but again, this is from the director of The Mean One, and it kind of does follow the basic plot beats of that one. So people go into focal location, a couple people die, they discover finally what is causing this. One of them, who's usually the last survivor, goes up against it. Turns out it's love that the creature wants, and instead of hate, and blah blah blah. So it is that kind of thing again, but I think actually this works a lot better compared to The Mean One, which, to be fair, I still liked it in that one, but I think this one works just as well. And even the character design, yeah, we got to talk about Steamboat Willie himself. The character design itself, I actually really liked. Yes, it's a bit sort of taking inspiration from Blood and Honey in terms of Willie looks a bit like a creature in just the Steamboat Willie sort of costume and the big ears and stuff and the hat. But I think it works really well here. For the most part, the face could do a bit of work, but at least they try and explain that away with, oh, he was angry that people kept replacing parts of his beloved steamboat. Minnie ended up dying. Yes, they do mention actual Minnie. So she was also in the original Steamboat Willie short, if you've never seen it. So they do mention her by name, and he gets angry, and they do explain that his anger and darkness took him over and changed his appearance. So at least they have actually got the backstory for that to explain the change in his appearance. And they can also use that to be okay, we can kind of have him be recognisable as the Steamboat Willie character, but change him enough to our own liking. Which I think is fair. I think it works for this. It's possible for this. And yeah, overall, I did really enjoy this. Because again, I went in with the expectations of, I know what this is going to be like. I can guess what this is going to be like. So let's just have fun with it. And I thought this was a lot of fun. DavidHowardThornton, who, if you remember, plays Art the Clown and the Grinch in The Mean One, he's actually playing Steamboat Willie as well. And I think, again, that is a good choice. He's really good. We mentioned this before with the Mean One review, but he's actually really good choice with mime work and with work where it doesn't need a lot of dialogue. A lot of the dialogue from him is the Mickey laugh and whistling. He whistles his own little do 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 do. That was very tone deaf of me, but like the original whistling from the short film, he does whistle that. Again, that's legal because that's also within the public domain now as well. So that is allowed in here. I'll come back to the legality of things actually as well, because this film is interesting for that. But I do think actually he's really good. He's having fun with this, and I really enjoyed his performance as Mickey. As Willie, sorry, not Mickey. It is a Mickey Mouse character, but it's a different name. But I think what I didn't expect the most was I thought this was going to be, okay, he's fully hyped human, just running around in this, like looking like this, but as a fully grown, fully hyped human, or adult. No, they shrunk him down to mouse size. Like, he is tiny. He is so small. It's so funny. He's like half the size of a child. It is so funny. I didn't expect it, but I'm glad they made that decision, because they could have easily just had him be, okay, well, it's just, fully grown adult in this costume and makeup and stuff, and that's it. But I'm glad they went with what they went with. It's so funny, and I didn't expect it at all. And I like just like with Art the Clown, Willie even has like a very playful manner about him, which makes sense with him being a Mickey Mouse character. If you've ever seen the original Steamboat Willie short, it is kind of animal abuse, the short film. So it does kind of make sense that he'd have this playful but mean sort of manner to him. So I actually thought, again, that really worked. That fitted well with this version of that character. Because again, go watch the original short film. Like, oh my god. But I enjoyed David Howard Thornton seemed to be having fun with this role, and I thought again he was really good in this role. There's a reason that they keep picking him for these type of roles, and he's good at it. So yeah, I really enjoyed his performance and the design of Steamboat Willie in this film. The acting isn't too bad for what this is. Again, this is just, a silly, cheesy horror film. It does put in a lot more effort than I was expecting, I'll be honest. And even actors that stuck out to me in the cast was Amy Schumacher and Tyler Posey, which I wasn't expecting. I recognised Tyler and I couldn't think why. That was kind of cool, and I think they are quite good for what this film is. They do actually put in a lot of effort, which I do appreciate. They could have easily just, poo-pooed this, but I'm glad they didn't. It seemed like they were having fun with this as well. And even the kills are fine. This is kind of one of the negatives I had. I mentioned this as well with the mean one, was that the kills seemed like they were quite creative and interesting, but the film didn't really show them as much as they should have done. There was a lot of extreme close-ups of something going into someone's skin, or him eating someone or biting into someone, and I feel like, back the camera up a little bit or show us more of those effects. This isn't me trying to be like, I want to see blood and gore, but I want to see, there's clearly practical effects going on in this film, and I want to see them. Show them off. There were it didn't happen as often actually as with the mean one, which I was glad about. I apologise I keep comparing it, it's only because same director, same lead actor, similar plot beats, just different location and creature, I guess. They did show a few kills. I was trying to think how to word that, but they actually did show off quite a few of the kills. It was just somewhere I was just like, okay, pull the camera back a bit. We want to see that. We want to see the effort that you've put in and the work that you've put into the practical effects. And I think the other problem I had with this film was I said that the cinematography was actually pretty good for the most part. In the last half an hour, it gets really choppy. I think I don't know what happened, but the camera style and the filming style changed to completely handheld, and it's very shaky, very wobbly. I couldn't really follow what was going on, which was a bit jarring. It was a little bit strange. And then, yeah, I mentioned the legality of things. There's a lot of Disney references. I guess they only got away with it because a lot of it is quotes. And like from other films, from other Pixar films or Disney films, you know, someone says, you know, they talk about ice and snow and stuff, and someone says, "I'll let it go." There's another one where someone or a kid falls into a water and someone else says, "Just keep swimming." One of the group of people that gets killed is a birthday group. They're all dressed in like really knockoff cheap Disney princess costumes. You know, you've got Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Ariel, Jasmine, Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. Cinderella, at one point runs around drunk and loses her glass slipper. Willie at one point writes, a scream is a wish your heart makes on the ceiling of the boat, which I think is from Cinderella again. And even the poster has like, you know, a picture of the fairy and Steamboat Willie, but he's making like, you know, the Tinkerbell Disney arch with his knife. I'm wondering whether they were trying to push like, okay, how far can we go with this without getting sued? Essentially, they mention Walt but don't mention it's Walt Disney when they're explaining like Willie's backstory and how he got to how he was. And even in the backstory animation, because it was really cool actually, they animated the backstory to be like the old like 1930s Mickey Mouse cartoons, which I thought was kind of cool. But there's one shot where even Oswald the rabbit is even mentioned, which I'm like, I don't know if you can do that. I wonder what the legality of it was there. And when they end up getting to the end of the story and explaining that Mickey became demonic and his appearance changed, he starts to look a bit like the Mickey in Runaway Brain, which is a very old Disney short. It was shown before a Goofy movie, sorry. I'll put a picture, if I can find a picture of what Mickey looked like in that short, I'll put it up here. But it looked very, very similar to that. I kind of wish that's probably what he looked like, but I didn't really mind what he actually did look like in this film, to be honest. And then lastly, I said I was going to pretty much go full spoilers with this. A sequel is happening, apparently. So the very, very last scene of the film is Willie isn't dead, he's washed up on shore of New York, and it's assumed that Minnie finds him. And then at the end it says Willie and Minnie will return. Legal wise, how are you going to deal with that if you're going to put Minnie Mouse in it? You can't call her Minnie Mouse and her outfit has to be different. That's the only way I can think of them getting around that. Secondly, what now? Thirdly, I'm kind of here for it. I think when Steamboat Willie became public domain, like, obviously I knew horror films and horror games abound were going to happen. And I was like, okay, if you're going to make a horror film to do with this character, like I've said earlier in the video, don't have it just be a guy in a mask. Have it actually be that character. So yeah, overall I think Screamboat was fun. It's exactly what I expected it to be, but I actually had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was really silly, but kind of, again, what I wanted from a Steamboat Willie horror film. I thought the kills were mostly okay when I could see them, but I think you need to show that off more. You need to show off the practical effects more. DavidHowardThornton was, once again, excellent as Willie, and steals the show once again. There wasn't really much else to say. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm interested to know what the sequel is going to be like. Even though they have said it will happen, we've got to wait for the confirmation, but I'm interested to know what that's going to be like. And yeah, I wonder what other public domain characters are going to be turned into horror films. I know that there's still, is it the Poonaverse? I know that the Peter Pan film already came out. That hasn't come out over here yet. And I think the Bambi The Reckoning trailer has come out, which I think looks quite interesting. But this was my review on Screamboat. I bet you didn't expect me to do this one. I'm going to go to bed now because it's very late. But I was Megan. This is Battle Royale with Cheese. See you soon.